I once spent weeks trying to teach a fifth grader how to add multi-digit numbers. When he finally understood how to do it, he was so excited. He kept asking me to make the numbers bigger and bigger until they couldn't fit on the paper anymore. And not just the short way of the paper. We turned it and filled the whole paper with numbers so for him to add. Seeing him so proud of what he learned made me so happy, and that's when I knew I wanted to be a special education teacher. Today I want to inform you what it's like to be a special education teacher. Let's begin by talking about what a day in the life of a special education teacher looks like. The day in the life of a special education teacher varies from day to day. I interviewed a former colleague of mine, Mrs. Aurora Kubak. In a typical day, she meets with 9 small groups of children for 20 to 45 minutes with 16 students in all. Her days are very busy. Other days can look quite different. Some days she monitors tests like the MCA tests and has a lot of paperwork. Other days she has IEP meetings and has to write IEPs. An IEP is an individualized education program. According to the Minnesota Department of Education, the IEP outlines the unique needs of the students and the specialized goals and objectives that will help the student make educational progress. So special ed teachers have to attend every IEP meeting, and here's an example of everybody else who has to attend them. Anybody who's involved in the IEP has to go to the meeting. And so other days, the students with behavior issues can affect the way that the day goes, making them very frustrating. Mrs. Kubak told me students with behavior issues can make it very difficult both on the teachers and the students in the room. Now that I've told you what a day in the life of a teacher might look like, let's move on to what the demand for special ed teachers is. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the demand for special ed teachers is expected to grow by about 3% by 2028. I wanted to know what kind of openings there were around Faribault, so I searched on Indeed.com and I found 28 openings for special ed teachers. Then I wanted to compare that to general ed teachers, and there were only about 16 openings. Being a special ed teacher can be very demanding and difficult. According to an article I found on PBS.com, the number of special ed teachers has dropped by about 17%, while students with disabilities has only dropped by about 1%, leaving many unfulfilled jobs. Finally, I'd like to talk to you about some of the challenges that special ed teachers face. There are many challenging aspects when you are a special ed teacher. Many of them decide to leave the field. According to specialeducationdegree.net, about 75% of special ed teachers leave their field within the first 10 years. That is a lot of teachers who must not have had to do a speech like this to research what they were getting themselves into. A few of the top challenges, according to specialeducationdegree.net, include the misconception that teaching is easy, the non-instructional responsibilities, and the lack of support. For an example of a non-instructional responsibility, I have 2 kids that have IEPs for speech, and they don't even meet with the special ed teacher, and yet she still has to attend the IEP meetings. I asked Mrs. Kubak what some of the challenges she has faced being a special ed teacher, and she told me, I've had supervisors who didn't understand special ed or were poor leaders, difficult or stressful meetings with parents, or too many students at one time to be effective. In conclusion, I've told you how teaching special ed can vary from day to day, what kind of demand there is for special ed teachers, and some of the challenges that special ed teachers face. Thank you. Any questions? fifth graders is kind of the sweet spot.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So, are you afraid of the burnout or the dropout rate, even though you're prepared for that idea? Are you afraid of that it might happen to you?
A little bit, but I've worked with special ed kids the past 5 years, and I've really liked it. So I was just gonna add more onto what I was already doing, I feel like, so I think I can handle it.
Good, thank you.